Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you doing today? I hope you are having a fantastic Monday because it is Monday. Can you believe that September is 2 weeks in and we are going strong? 2018 will be over before we know it. As you guys can probably tell, I'm in a different location. I am in a hotel room in Pismo Beach, California. And I have to say it has this amazing chair that has wheels. So I was able to roll it around, get good light so that I could do this video for you guys. I am here to wrap up the end of my August reading. As you know, August was a little slumpy in the beginning, got good. I read a lot while I was traveling on planes. I didn't read a lot while I was actually in New Orleans. There were people, there was a pool, there was food, so reading didn't get done, but I have enough to talk to you about. I'm pretty excited to get through some of this. So let's get started with wrapping up the end of my August reading. The first book I have to tell you about is There by Tommy Orange. Now this book got a lot of hype. And I think in a lot of ways that hurt this book for me. But what is this book? This is the story of, I think there are 12 different characters overall. They're interconnected sort of in different ways. As you go along, you kind of see how everybody kind of connects through family or history or story. But really at the center of this is this Oakland powwow that is occurring, and a bunch of different characters are getting there for different reasons. I will say, some of the stuff I did like about this book was, I think the character of Opal, who is sort of a grandma aunt character, we see her as a child and we see her as an adult, is extremely well written, extremely interesting, extremely heartfelt. Like there's her story of raising, she raises these three boys and sort of her fears for them and her worries for them. It's really well done. Then there is a young boy, I want to say his name is Octavio, and I apologize if that's incorrect, who has this dream of dancing at the Oakland powwow, which is against sort of what his grandmother wants him to do. And when he gets to the powwow and gets to have his moment, it's very powerful. So I will give that. However, at the crux of this book are two things. One, there are a number of people who are involved in some sort of drug ring, and someone owes someone money. And the plot becomes this group of guys going to the Oakland powwow to rob it for the money that is being held there as prizes for the different events. That became, to me, really cookie cutter and very unoriginal. I didn't want this to turn into a heist caper, and it kind of turns into a heist caper, and at the end is a little bit too Quentin Tarantino. It just lost a little bit of its power and its spirituality for me. It just became a little bit generic. The other thing is the dialogue in this book is really rough. There's a lot of like, he said, he said, he said, she said, he said, he should. And I just wanted the author to trust me that I was strong enough to figure that out. And eventually I just got super frustrated by it. So I think there's a lot of interesting ideas. I think the book itself relies on a trope that's been done. And I also think that there is some sophistication that is still to come. I don't know that I would recommend it, but I know a lot of people that I totally love and trust love this book, so it could just be me that just didn't get along with it, but there's my thoughts. There's my thoughts on There by Tommy Orange. The next book I read is, actually I have two graphic novels to tell you about. That's kind of an interesting rest of your month. I read Upgrade Soul. This is by Ezra Clayton Daniels, so I'm gonna hold this here. Showed you guys some of the artwork. And I want to say I've talked about this, oh, kind of glary, sorry. I've talked about this a couple of times on my channel, but this is the story of an elderly couple. It's their 40th wedding anniversary. One is a scientist, the female, the wife is a scientist, and the husband is sort of a philanthropist who gives money to different science groups. And they sort of decide as their 40th wedding anniversary present to each other that they're going to become kind of an experiment to become part of it that allows you to sort of be reborn and live another life separate. You also come back stronger, smarter, more developed in different ways. Now, as you know, something goes wrong, and I know that that sounds like that could be almost convenient, but what goes wrong is super weird and super out of the box. So to me, it really worked. And it became a story of relationships. It became a story of this idea that two people who could love each other, spend all this time together, and then sort of be reborn in a different situation. People are maybe, and relationships are, from what the experience is and who the people are at that time, and that doesn't always mean they'll wind up doing the same thing again together. Does that make sense? Also, it's about science, about taking advantage. And yeah, it has a lot of really interesting things about body image and finding the good within people, and then finding the good and then finding out the bad, you know, all that kind of stuff. I really enjoyed this. I think that it had a lot to say that was really interesting. I want some more people to read it so we can talk about it. So that is Upgrade Soul by Ezra Clayton Daniels. This is by Lion Forge, and it comes out in September. So you guys should be able to pick this up soon. I think I saw that it's already out actually in a bookstore, so it should be there. So then I got on a plane, and I started a novella, and I read 2 novellas on my way there. And the first one I read was the third in the, I want to say it's called the Tesseract series by Ji Yang. I've talked about this before. The first book is The Black Tides of Heaven, then The Red Threads of Fortune, and this is This Descent of Monsters. Now, this one is different. So each book is separate, but set in the same world, and the same characters come in and out. So I'm not going to tell you too much about the plot, because it could ruin the first 2 books for you. But this one is sort of like a investigative thriller. We have an event that occurs, and we have a guy actually, it's a woman who has been sent to investigate. The government is trying to block stuff. The people are trying to block stuff. And it was very interesting. It's told in diary/letter, so a little epistolary in nature. I highly recommend this series. I loved the world. I love the characters. The first book is good. The second book is fantastic. And the third book is great. I really love the second book, so I think that I'm jaded in that case. But I really enjoy Ji Yang's world. They have a way of just sort of giving you details that are enough, but not getting you bogged down in it, which you guys know, world building is not always my thing. But I highly recommend this entire series. And this is the third one, The Descent of Monsters, and it is the Tesseract series by Ji Yang. Highly recommend. The next book I read blew my freaking mind. I want to thank very much Europa Editions for sending me a copy of this book out of the blue. Never heard of it, didn't request it. But when I said I got a book by Amelie Nothomb, I think that's how you say her name, Nothomb. A lot of my friends were like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. So this is Strike Your Heart by Amelie Nothomb. It is newly out from Europa. This cover is fantastic. This is the story of Diane. So I don't even know how to explain this. So Diane is born to a mother and a father. The mother has always been the star of the show. When Diane is born, she is gorgeous and perfect in so many ways, and the mother is insanely jealous and treats her daughter differently. So Diane sort of lives in this world where she wants to be as perfect as possible in order to get her mother's affection. Okay. Then she has a brother, and her mother changes entirely as a parent. So that makes Diane realize that it's her, which causes Diane to make decisions on how she's going to live her life. What winds up happening is she creates friendships with different women that formulate who she is as a person. I don't want to give too much away, but Diane has an edge to her. She is very structured. Her relationships are built on what her plan is for her life. And I was 100% bought into her. I like characters that sort of lack sort of an emotionality. I like sort of that looking at the world on a straight razor. And as she comes to realize some of the women in her life are taking advantage or aren't as good as they could have been, her insights into that were fantastic. It It is sort of like thought-provoking in a way about relationships between women. It's very interesting in sort of this idea. There's these two different mother-daughter relationships we watch occur that really open up a conversation that I just think you guys should all read it. I want to get all of Amelie Nothomb's books. I think she may become one of my favorite writers. This book, what really did blow me out of the water. You will see it hands down in my top 10 books at the end of the year. And that is Strike Your Heart by Amelie Nothomb. And again, thank you, Europe Editions. This was a blessing in a little bag that I didn't even expect. Last but not least is my second graphic novel. Now, I did read more on my trip, but it turned from August to September, so you're going to have to wait till my September wrap-up for the rest of that. But this is Oblivion Song. This is written by Robert Kirkman and Lorenzo de Felici. This is out in September as well from Image Comics. Now, this is the new sort of series by the guy who wrote The Walking Dead. So if you liked The Walking Dead as a graphic novel series, I have a feeling that this will also appeal to you. Let me get you some of the art is just fantastic. Isn't that great? So this is the story, I want to say it's Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, wrong Pennsylvania town. So a decade ago in Philadelphia, something occurred that took part of the town into a space called Oblivion, and 30,000 people were lost. The government went in for a while trying to figure out where the people were and rescue them, but they eventually give up. This is the story of one man who has not given up. And there's a good reason. This is not a spoiler at all to the plot. He knows his brother is there, and he wants to find his brother. So he goes in, and he tries to rescue people, and he learns and has learned that the world isn't to blame for anything, that the creatures that live there, when our world went there, invaded their space. So he has sort of a reverence for these creatures, and some of them are just crazy scary. Let me see if I can find one for you. But it's really well done. And it's also about some of the people who came back. Let me see. Oh, so this is kind of an idea of what the creatures look like. That come back to sort of present day America and how they deal with what they went through. So there's sort of that PTSD thing. And then also people that are there and what sort of life looks like if you didn't get out. So this is the first. I'm probably assuming that there are going to be many in this series. I highly recommend it. I was entertained. I was thrilled. I see it cinematically in my mind. The main character is driven and interesting, and the plot isn't generic, and you definitely get a very interesting sort of idea. So there you go. That wraps up August's reading for me. So I hope you guys liked this video. As always, if you are a return subscriber, thank you so much for coming. I really do appreciate it. You guys know that you mean the world to me. If you're new to my channel, thank you so much, and I hope you liked this video. Please subscribe. And as always, until next time, happy reading, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!